Hey guys, what's up? It's Prime Time here for the official start of PvT series, or the PvT series, and as the red Protoss in the bottom left, we have Prime Time here. Once again, I botched the opening because I say my name too soon and then I try to introduce the players and whatever. You know, you guys get it. But so this is going to be a PvT, and this is going to be the kickoff to the new series. First we did PvP, now we're doing PvT. And in the top right we have the blue Terran as something. Very interesting name there indeed. And in this game, at least in this first game, there's only really a couple things I want to really hammer down and show you guys. And that is primarily going to be the build order. And I might as well start right now with Pylon on 9, as always, chrono boost on the nexus right afterwards, and then you're going to get a gateway at 13. And before I really get into too much of the build order and why I do one thing over the other and blah blah blah, I just want to mention this is going to be just like, this is my PvT builds, this is my favorite PvT builds. I am working on a second one right now for the channel that I can show you guys eventually when it is all fine-tuned and perfect and stuff. But this is my favorite PvT build I use on ladder right now. And I do execute this game is just going to demonstrate this build being executed perfectly and having a sort of like perfect outcome. But before we get to see the end result of this game, I do want to mention that Pylon on 15 and then trademark Prime Time is double gas on 16. Now when you're playing a Terran opponent, 9 out of 10 times they're going to wall in, which is a pretty smart thing to do because otherwise you could probably like rush a 4-gate and just storm up the ramp and kill them if they don't get a bunker down in time. But this opponent didn't. But when you know, since considering most people do wall in, by the way, Cyber on 16 and then chrono your nexus. Just keep on chronoing that out. But since most Terran players do wall in, all you really have time to see is, are they going for an early gas? Are they do they have multiple barracks down in their base? But I'll get into what those possibilities can mean in a second. But you can see I'm gonna keep on chrono boosting. As soon as the Cyber core finishes, you just go ahead and get Warp Gate Research and Sentry. Once again, you skip that first zealot that most builds include, and then get another Pylon with more chrono boost going down on your nexus. And the reason you want to chrono boost on that nexus is because you get this double 16 gas, and you really want to catch up back in the worker game. So you want to saturate your minerals as fast as possible, since you spend so much time getting gas. But then after this Pylon finishes, you're going to be able to get a Robo facility. It would be great to not let your opponent see what you're doing, so because the Sentry does like no damage, you might need to pull a probe off the line to kill the SCV. And so I did take that down. I don't believe he did see this, and we can see right now, no he did not. He only sees one gateway, and this is probably going to mean a fast expansion in his eyes. But still building probes. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop. Get three zealots come out of this gateway after the Sentry, and that is it for. That's really all you need to know for now. But back to the scouting, because I said I was going to mention this a second ago. If you don't see gas and you see one barracks, and then you're forced out of the base because he's walled in, which is typically what will happen. You've sort of got two possibilities. Actually, I mean, you really, against Terran, you really can't see that much. That's the problem. So a lot of times the standard play is to go for a fast expansion, but you also don't know if they're going to go for like a ton of racks proxied or something because you see no gas. Or you don't know, like, once you're out of the base, they might throw down a double gas and then try to do some sort of cloak banshee play. But really, it's hard to scout a Terran player, is my point, especially when they wall in. But anyway, you see, sorry, I sort of skipped from the build order here. He's going to get a perfect scan. I believe he can see that. And, oh, he cannot see. Wow. This is the Robo Bay. So what you're going to want to do is, after you get your 3 zealots out of the gateway, once your Robo facility finishes, you get a observer and a warp prism. And my observer is right here. And as soon as this finishes, throw down a Robo Bay and build an observer. And you should be able to chrono boost this and then get a warp prism afterwards, so that way once the warp prism comes out, it'll be right when this finishes, the Robo Bay, so that way you can build your first Colossus. And you're going to want to non-stop chrono the Colossus out. And as usual, the classic 3 Zealot Sentry drop is going to be commencing shortly. I just want to note, units lost right now is just 1 worker apiece. And then you also want to add on the second warp gate as soon as you can, and you're just going to sit on 2 warp gate with 1 robo for Colossus. Now I'll get into some other details about what counters this and sort of the things you need to watch out for, but this build is getting underway. So as usual, force field, let your zealots do all the work. And his reaction time wasn't that bad. It's just since he expanded, he's way down here. So he's finally going to get back up here, but a ton of damage was done. And if you try to run out another space with the SCVs, I could have just force fielded that off. So if we look at the workers kill tab, I've killed 14 so far. 1 was in the early game. This is literally like a perfect build so far. Now I will note, this was a bit of a mistake. I like to get an expansion down around the 8:30 to 9 minute mark. But you cannot do that if you continue to build this 3rd Colossus. So what you probably want to do is not build this Colossus and just expand. And you can see this is literally going to be like almost a minute late because of the fact that I went for a 3rd Colossus. So basically you can either choose to get a 3rd Colossus or continually build off the 2 warp gates if you want to get an expansion down at the 8:30 minute mark. And we see our opponent now realizes this is inbound, so he's trying to bring back these Marines from the back of his mineral line, but just way too late on that. And he's forced to run up the ramp. This will actually happen a lot when you do this build. Your opponent will be forced to run and they'll have to lift off their command center. That does not necessarily mean that they're out of the game, except in this case our Terran opponent decided to try to engage with the bio ball, and it was just not the right decision, unfortunately, for him. And there's the GG. Now I really was not able to talk about much at all this game, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how this build pans out. So we're going to go ahead and look at another game, another quick game, and just sort of show you another scenario that you may encounter, and also other builds that might give you some trouble while trying to do this build. Anyway, thanks for watching this first part of this episode, and we'll go on to the next game in a second.